The police force is on a roll, rolling out new vehicles, a new crime offensive, and new recruits. Prime Minister Philip Davis was at the police headquarters to endorse the introduction of 100 new trucks to the fleet of patrol vehicles and reject criminality in the Bahamas.
We have identified some initiatives, one of which was saturation patrols. We recognized that whereas we had limited vehicles to make our efforts of saturation patrols effective, decided to invest in that, in acquiring 100 vehicles specifically for the purposes of this initiative.
Just under 40 of the new trucks are already in circulation. The balance is due in the capital in another week and a half. They'll largely focus on monitoring hotspots.
Every time you hear a serious crime, you'll hear me skipping saying a small Japanese car pulling and firing off shots. A Honda vehicle pulling up and firing off shots. So officers will be on the alert for vehicles like that and to be able to stop and search, because the individuals are moving from point A to B with high-power rifles and weapons in their vehicles. So it'll be a lot of aggressive stop and search in these immediate areas.
Meantime, Police Commissioner Clayton Fernandez says recruitment continues as the force broadens its coverage with 120 new entries due in June. 20 officers from the Royal Bahamas Defense Force have also been assigned to strengthen police operations, adding to an all-out attack on the menace that everyone is eager to eliminate.
We have a total of 120 officers who are scheduled to graduate on the 22nd of next month, June month. And also we have a total of 109 or so reserve scheduled to pass out during that same time. So we continue, and then we have, yes, and this last year we had recruited and passed out a whole team of just a little over 100 officers, and we have opened up the puddle now with respect to recruitment for the next squad, which is should be in line in July, the ending part of July.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Keeping you in the know, this is OPM Press Now.
Fairness and transparency are the objectives of the Consumer Protection Bill 2023. Prime Minister Philip Davis tabled the legislation Monday.
The Consumer Protection Bill is about building a Bahamas where consumers are informed, businesses are accountable, and the marketplace is a space of fairness and trust. It's about creating a culture of consumer rights and responsibilities.
The bill, which speaks to the culture of the Consumer Protection Commission and its amended policies, will ensure consumers are well informed and businesses are held accountable.
Consumer protection isn't just about trade. It is about people. Yes. It is about building a nation where everyone, regardless of their social or economic standing, can confidently participate in the marketplace.
Prime Minister Davis also noting that the future of the Bahamian economy depends on legislation that will give Bahamians at large the confidence that they can operate in an environment with the hallmarks of mutual respect and understanding.
Through this bill, we aim to empower consumers to make informed decisions, to assert their rights, and to seek redress when those rights are violated. This, in turn, will encourage businesses to uphold the highest standards of integrity, fostering a vibrant and fair economy.
Keeping you in the know. This is OPM Press Now.
The Office of the Prime Minister Press Office is the primary liaison between the Fourth Estate and the Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet.
Every day, we are working to build a more inclusive economy and a stronger, safer country.
Hear all of the latest developments as the Davis administration carries out the broad mandate of progress and change. Our live weekly press briefings provide full access to current newsmakers on the most topical issues of the day. We facilitate prompt responses from cabinet ministers on the latest reports and get answers on the issues that matter to you.
Will any penalties be levied against the
OPM Press Now, keeping you in the know.
Good morning and welcome to OPM's weekly press briefing. It is a pleasure to have all of you, whether you are joining us live in the gallery or online. We have a power-packed lineup for you today, and so I'm going to introduce Press Secretary Clint Watson, who is going to let you know all of the wonderful things that you're going to be hearing. Clint?
Thank you, Julian. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to all of you following in live or on streams. Welcome to another week. We update you on the administration here, the Davis Cooper administration, and keeping the Bahamian people accountable, keeping the administration accountable to the Bahamian people on what is happening around the country. There's a lot to talk about today, particularly in development. And so we want to get right into it. We're going to talk really about Family Islands. I know a lot of times people think a lot of the work that's going on is New Providence centric. And while that's where the bulk of the population is, the mandate of the government is indeed to cover the nation. And so we're focusing on development on Family Islands. You know, we've had issues with infrastructural development of roads. The government is undergoing a massive exercise to improve infrastructure throughout the Family of Islands. So we talk a little bit about that. We have the minister responsible for Family Islands, the Honorable Clay Sweeting here, and he'll talk about really what's happening next for Eleuthera, who's up next for development there. And of course, we'll talk to one of the partners with government who's partnering with the private-public partnership, talk about development in various Family Islands and how that will take place and what's happening there. And as you know, that is the route government is using to ensure the development is not delayed, is by partnering through with local companies to get the work done. And so you'll meet some of those companies today and find out exactly what the focus of that is. Then, of course, something grand is happening tomorrow, the opening of the Nassau Cruise Port, and that signals the beginning of revitalization for the downtown area. We're going to talk to the CEO of Nassau Cruise Port, Mike Mora, who will talk to us about that historic opening tomorrow and really what this will spur for downtown development and businesses in downtown. And then, of course, we have an update from the Minister of Economic Affairs as we are now a week away from the budget on what we can expect and any other crucial updates he may have regarding issues going on in the country. And my favorite segment, our food vendors segment, we have two outstanding local Bahamian companies that we will introduce to you, and you'll get a chance to sample some of their goodies today. So it's a full morning. We're going to get right to it and not delay. I'm going to invite the Minister for Family Island Development, Family Island Affairs, the Honorable Clay Sweeting to come and just begin, and then I'll come and introduce the other speakers who will follow him. Minister.
Thank you, Clint. Good morning. It's always exciting to be here. I think I'm back here next week,
Yes.
which will I will be giving a full overview of my ministry and what we're accomplishing in that regard. But more importantly, what I'm here today is to show my support more than just the Minister of Family Island Affairs, but for the Member of Parliament for Central and South Eleuthera. We have two constituencies from Camp Enterprises as well as Seminets, who does road work in my constituency. And we're excited about some announcements that will be made shortly in regards to how we assess the roads there and how we're going to ensure that infrastructural development in that constituency is enhanced. We also have Rowdy Boys from Long Island, along with Bomber Striping group of companies as well. But infrastructure in the Family Islands is very important, whether it's water, road works, electricity. And the Ministry of Works has been working very hard to ensure that we find ways to move this process much quickly to ensure that the people in the Family Islands receive the same amount of attention that those in New Providence do. A lot of times I think that governments be Nassau-centric, but what's exciting about this administration is we have a Prime Minister who's from a Family Island and represents the constituency, the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Family Island Affairs as well. So I just came here to lend my support for that, and how you'll see a lot of progression in the next coming months in Family Island development. You'll see a lot of movements. We'll see some announcements shortly on how we're going to do that, and I'm just excited to be a part of an administration that is Family Island focused and ensuring we find ways to enhance the lives of the people that sometimes are forgotten. So I just wanted to come and lend my support in that regard. And next week, we'll have more of an update on what we're doing in regards to agriculture, marine resources, local government, regattas and festivals, and all of that falls under my preview under that ministry. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. And having said that, as we said, one of the key companies who's carrying out a lot of the infrastructural works, which is road upgrades, is Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, recently celebrating 14 years. I see the president is here, Tyra Mitchell, and the chairman is here as well, Dominic Stirrup. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. And a lot of the work, I think, and they'll talk about it, but just to preview it, is what this government is particularly excited about is it's being done locally. We've seen in the past administrations, a lot of the work had to be done by foreign companies because the expertise weren't here. Those are days past and long gone. We now have experts here in the Bahamas, Bahamian expert companies, who can do the job done with a level of competency that people boast about regionally, and that's a good thing. We've seen the roadworks complete in Exuma, and residents of Exuma are boasting. I'm being told they're taking more frequent trips with their cars on the road now just to experience the ride because they're so excited that what has been long overdue has now been completed. This group of companies is now moving throughout the family of islands to bring that same kind of relief and energy and excitement to other islands. But the difference is using companies from the actual islands who understand development so that they can have a part of the economic pie, and that more Bahamian companies experience the economic boost this administration is bringing to the country. And that's the kind of partnership that government wants to encourage, is when other people will allow other stakeholders in the country to experience a part of the economic pie. So we want to bring Bahamas Striping on and talk about the development, and coming to do that is their new general manager, Melanie Roach, who's quite experienced in works and public utilities. She's coming to talk about Bahamas Striping's role, and I'll probably let her introduce the companies to come and say a few words. President of Rowdy Boys Construction in Devons Key, Long Island, Bernard Knowles. Philip Kemp from New View Construction in Rock Sound, Eleuthera, Juan Simon, chairman of Quick Fix Construction Company, Antonia Lewis, president, EGL Development Company. I'll let her introduce him when she's talked, and we'll call this the Bahamas Striping segment. Ms. Roach.
Good morning, everyone. I'll just ask Executive Chairman, Mr. Dominic Stirrup, to stand so that everybody stand so they can see you. And Atario Mitchell, President, and Astra Umbrista Rowe, Manager for Business Development. I took over, well, I guess this is the first time I've had a general manager, so I assumed the position of general manager of Bahamas Striping as of Monday of last week. And these three persons now rule my life and keeping me very busy. There are a number of projects that we are working on, but we just want to discuss three of them today that are imminent and ready to go ahead. So the first one is the Eleuthera PPP Roadworks projects. Bahamas Striping Group of Companies has obtained the financing necessary to fund the project in the first instance, and will work through a repayment plan with the government. And that is for the reconstruction and paving of 93 miles of highway and 50 miles of settlement roads in Eleuthera. The works will commence in the south and move progressively northward. It includes the reconfigured, realigned, raised in order to address some flooding areas. In addition, we have, well, all of the roads in the 50 miles in the settlement require reconstruction because no work has been done on those roads in quite a while. And the base has failed in many areas. So we're going to be reconstructing the base before paving. And additional works includes the clearing of road verges, installation of all the necessary traffic signs as required by the various standards that the Ministry of Works follows, the construction of some culverts and other drainage infrastructure, including wells, and seawalls along the areas where we want to protect the road from sea surge. So in Eleuthera, we have two locally based contractors, Quick Fix Construction and New View Construction. And between the two of them, they will be doing the base work for the 50 miles of settlement roads that have been agreed. And once those base work have been completed, then Caribbean Pavement Solutions, one of the Bahamas Striping Group of companies, will then come and do the asphalt paving, the striping, and the installation of the street signage. In advance of those paving works, we will be doing some pothole patching. So materials are being sourced for Eleuthera for some local contractors to be able to do road patching ahead of the work. As in Long Island, we'll be doing a similar type of work, but though that is for 119 miles of roads, 90 of which is the main highway, and 29 of which are settlement roads. Rowdy Boys Construction, a locally based company in Long Island, will be responsible for all of the base works on that project for the full 119 miles. We're also going to be assisting the water and sewage well. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. There are some additional waterworks that need to be taken care of in Eleuthera and in Long Island, and so we have included for that in the project funding because we want to ensure that before we pave those roads, all of the water underground utilities are in. We don't want anybody to come back and have to dig up the newly paved roads. So that will form a part of a contract. We are still in negotiations with the Water and Sewage Corporation as to the exact amount of waterworks that needs to be done, but once that is done, we will then finalize those subcontracts. Even though we have the overall project and the funding is coming through Bahamas Striping, there will be direct injection of funds into the each local economy, because there will be persons who will be employed on the projects. We have to find accommodations for those persons. We have to feed them. At the end of the day, they would want entertainment and some drinks and things like that. So then the air and sea transportation companies will also benefit because we have a lot of materials to bring in. We have a lot of people to bring backwards and forwards. So there is some direct funds that will be injected into the economy. Once the paving is done and the roads are cured, we will then be doing a striping program throughout the islands. This will include thermoplastic road markings and the installation of cat eyes. And also we'll be installing proper signage throughout the islands. These are critical for the safety of both pedestrians and drivers. And so once those projects are completed, Long Island and Eleuthera will be set for the next 20 years for roadworks, and there would be no more calls for, oh, we have potholes here, potholes there, because Bahamas Striping and Caribbean Pavement Systems will install top-class, world-class roads that will last a very, very long time. Bahamas Striping Group of Companies recently celebrated 14 years having grown from just a striping company into a multifaceted company, and we're now growing heavily into building construction. We have just started work on the new Nassau Village Community Center, but one of the more exciting projects that is coming up is the development of the La Playa property. That's the property, I'm not sure where we are here, got no sense of direction, but that's the property at the eastern boundary of Goodman's Bay. It is a historical building. It's been allowed to sit and deteriorate for many years, but now we are going to be developing it into a protocol house for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We're in the process of assembling a Bahamian design team of architects and engineers to produce the necessary design and construction drawings. And the contractor for the project is none other than Mr. Tony Lewis from EGL Development Company. That project too has a very aggressive timeline. We hope to be finished within 14 months. So Mr. Lewis will not be sleeping or for the next 14 months. He'll be working 7 days a week, 365 days a year, from morning to night. So if you don't see him for the next 14 months, you'll know why. That's all I have for now. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
For the Pie project?
That we're in the process of developing the design. So once we have further information, that project is going to be very progressive with regards to energy conservation. So we are going to be attempting to get a LEED certification for that project, so that once it's constructed, it will be very energy efficient and maintenance free as it possibly can. So there'll be further details. Like I said, we literally just got approval to proceed. We are in the process of putting together the design team and coming up with the design.
If it's not been said before, the other projects for Eleuthera and Long Island, I know you said Eleuthera, you retained financing. How much is it going to take to do these projects on those two islands?
Sorry?
For the roadworks for Eleuthera and Long Island, I know for Eleuthera you said there's been financing attained. How much do you estimate it will cost to do these works on those two islands?
I think it's Eleuthera is 150 million. Well, 50 million for the subcontractors, yes. The work that between the two subcontractors is about 50. For Eleuthera it's between the three contractors is 50 million. But then there's the other works that Bahamas Striping will be doing.
Other works that the company is eyeing in other islands, because there have been other complaints, I think, in Andros. Will we see any works on those islands?
Yes, we're going to keep Astra very busy. She's our manager for business development, so she's going to be developing a lot of business for the company. So we're not just looking at the Bahamas. We're actually looking to branch throughout the Caribbean. So this is just the first step.
And did you give a completion date for the Crooked Island roadworks?
No, it's Eleuthera and Long Island.
Okay.
So each project from the date that the contract is signed has a 2-year timeline.
So when will the works on the fly start again? In case I missed it.
Sorry?
When will the works on the fly start again?
Well, we still have to do the design and get the building permit and the certificate of environmental compliance. So we anticipate that to be at least 3 to 4 months, and then we will start the actual construction. Anything else? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Rhodes. Now we want to give you an opportunity to hear from these local Bahamian companies on the work that they're going to be doing. I'm going to invite Bernard Knowles, President of Rowdy Boys, Construction for Deadman's Key, Long Island, to come, and he'll be followed by Philip Camp for New View Construction for Roxana Eleuthera, Juan Simonet, Chairman of Quick Fix Construction Company, and then Tony Lewis, President of EGL Development Company. They'll tell you their scopes of work that they'll be doing.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bernard from Long Island, Rowdy Boys Construction. We've been contracted to 119 miles of road in Long Island. And we'd like to, at this time, say thank you for the Davis administration for believing in Bahamas Striping, and for Bahamas Striping to giving us a piece of the pie, not the crumbs of the pie. And it means a lot to Long Island because we need the money in our economy, and the money gonna stay in Long Island and gonna build Long Island better. And you know, we're just a little bit biggity, so we're gonna do our best to do a good job. We have to keep up the Rowdy Boys reputation. And thank everybody for coming out, and again, thank the Davis administration for believing in us and pushing for us to get the job along with Bahamas Striping. Thank you.
Pleasant good morning to all again. It's good to be here in Nassau for a short period of time. But first of all, I must give God thanks for bringing us safely from the island of Eleuthera here in Nassau. Secondly, I want to thank the Prime Minister of the Bahamas for the vision that he has. Because I can tell you, you must have vision, what I've heard here this day. Because we're talking about multiple islands in the Bahamas. And Bahamas Striping, I want to thank you. Bahamas Striping group of companies, I want to thank you. Because you're doing something what no other company in the Bahamas has done. You are looking at the small men, the small companies in these islands. I'm going to say this to you today. Today is history in this Bahamas. Today is history in this Bahamas, and we want to thank you. Because I would have never thought about this day coming, where the local people will have such a large amount of monies that will be given to, not given to them, they will have to work for it, but still at the end of the day, you've given us the opportunity, which I said a minute ago that there have been a large amount of companies that have been coming to the island of Eleuthera, and they never considered the small companies. They never considered the small companies. They grab all the monies and they come right back at Nassau. It never benefit the islands. I can tell you this, we're going to make you proud on the island of Eleuthera. I have my brother here today, the president of New Construction, Peter Camp, here also along with me. And I can tell you, one thing my father always said to us, you only have your name. And what he meant by that, make sure you do quality work. And I can assure you this blessed day, New View Construction will give you quality work. And I want to thank you again, and I want to thank the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Philip Brave Davis also. Thank you much, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. This is a very significant day because I remembered about 11 or 12 years ago, I'm sure Mr. Letario and Mr. Dominic would remember that we sat down to a table and we spoke and we talked about partnering together. And about 11, 12 years later, we see this being manifested in this partnership. So this is very, very, very significant. And, you know, I want to say thank you first to God, and then thank you to the Prime Minister, and then thank you to Bahamas Striping, because, you know, many times when we see companies come on the outer islands, they bring in everybody to work, they bring in all of their equipment, they come in, they do the work, and then they leave and they take all of the finances out and everything out with them. But Mr. Lothario and Dominic has a new vision where they are empowering the local contractors on the islands to do the work with the finances. So, you know, we want to say thank you, because in doing so, the money stays in the local economies. The money stays there for people to be hired, for jobs to be created, for more development to take place, which is very significant. And because of that, the islands and the settlements can be developed and people can open and start different businesses for themselves. Like I say, over 11 years ago, we sat down to a table. Where we talked about partnership. And I remember our first partnership was in San Salvador, when we did some road work in San Salvador for the government, and Striping came over there and they striped the roads for us. And now here, 11 years later, we're partnering again in the road development of South and Central Eleuthera. So I want to say thank you to Bahamas Striping for the opportunity. And like Mr. Kemp, our daddy always told us that, you know, you need going to bring our product to the Bahamas. And most of all, thank God for the opportunity. Thank you.
After when all the family island guys talk, I want to make it clear that I too is a family island boy. I'm from all the way in Parrotsville in Mequona. So I hope the next time I'm here, I speak about an assignment of some contract in Mequona. Yeah. However, I'm very grateful and thankful for the opportunity to be assigned the Protocol House. Of course, I haven't seen all the detail to speak more generally to it. However, I know it's going to be a project of some sophisticated looks and presentation. So therefore, I'm very up to the task to take on that challenge. And I would hope to meet Melanie's suggested 14 months. I was told, pardon? I forgot he was here. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that opportunity, and I want to thank the Prime Minister again for having the confidence and trust in the Striping boys, who myself and them were together for the last 14 years. I think one of their first major contract, which was small, was with me at the parking lot at Sutton Courthouse. I did that, and he called me up one morning while I was in church praying. I had a call from him, and I didn't know him. I had never met him at the time, but after church I returned the call, and there he was telling me, and I don't want to use the term, what is it when you try to cause people to do things? What's it again? But he told me, say, hey, listen now, you know, we can start this tomorrow. You don't have to find the money until after the project is finished. And so all the other people I was talking to, asking for a good deal with price for Striping, I just dropped them, because he said he'll do it without me paying a dime until I get paid from Melanie and those administrative work. So, you know, so we go far back, and I want to tell you that they are very good people, and I can understand and appreciate the Prime Minister having so readily trust them to do this level of trust through the PPP and all of that sort of stuff. And I want to thank the Prime Minister for his vision for the Bahamas, and of course some of it to trickle down to me. And I want to thank the Striping boys again very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your comments this morning. As I opened this press conference and talking about tomorrow being a significant day, indeed it is for our tourism product. For many years, there's been lots of discussion about the first impression for our cruise passengers. We have a port of entry at the airport that's second to none in the region. And now we can boast of having a cruise port that's also second to none in the region, which boasts well for our tourism product here in the Bahamas. And of course, CEO of the Nassau Cruise Port, Mike Moore, is here to talk about the significant day tomorrow, and really to address, I think, what has been a concern of many people with this new cruise port and all the amenities it offers. How will that bode for those vendors and those businesses in the downtown? And he'll tell you a little bit about how that actually will enhance and what is available for them regarding that. So without further ado, Mike Moore, welcome.
Good morning. So yeah, tomorrow is a big day. It's been about 3 years since we began demolition at Prince George Wharf, taking down Festival Place, the Customs Warehouse, the Port Department. And then we got the surprise of our life with the pandemic. Hit all of us, but still we were able to continue to move through. And actually ended up, helping us out actually, because if you can imagine trying to redevelop a cruise port, build new piers, and you've got 20,000 people walking by you every single day. So it ended up being a bit of a blessing to be able to have that time. The project considers basically the marine element and then the upland element. The marine element included a new 6th berth. So if you're looking at the water, you'll have berth 1 is the closest, then berth 2, berth 3, berth 4, and then on the far north you have berth 5 and berth 6. We can put 2 Icon class ships on the north. Oasis used to be kind of the brand of the largest ship in the world, but the Icon class is larger, and that's going to be coming out of the shipyard quite soon. And then on berth 1, we extended that to be able to handle an Icon as well. The significance of that is that we've already had a day, which you probably would have read in the papers, of 28,554 guests arriving in Nassau, and that is a lot of people in one day. Our forecasts for 23 for this year are around 4.2 million passengers, and the confirmed bookings that we have for 2024 are over 4.5 million visitors arriving, and again, that's a lot of people. As you move down the piers, we would have resurfaced all of the piers completely. The old Prince George Wharf had a lot of elevated areas and so forth, and we do receive a lot of guests that are disabled or they need a little extra time. They're in wheelchairs and so forth, and so being, resurfacing everything has supported that. Nassau, the Port of Nassau, is the busiest cruise port, transit cruise port in the world. And very few people appreciate that, but there isn't a transit port out there, an individual port out there that does more people than we do. As you move towards land, we would have spent about $125 or $130 million on upland works. You see this phenomenal new arrivals terminal, which supports Bahamas Customs, Bahamas Immigration, the Port Department. It's got medical facilities in it as well, security facilities, Royal Bahamas Police Force, Royal Bahamas Defense Force, and ourselves. As you walk through, and that's really kind of the TSA checkpoint that you're familiar with at an airport, you're then coming into Nassau, so to speak. As you move into this area, this courtyard, you have the Junkanoo Museum that sits right directly in front of you, and that is going to be something quite special. They're still working on the fine-tuning of it right now, but it is really going to be an immersive experience that celebrates Junkanoo. I can tell you this, that until I got very active in this particular project and had the opportunity to speak regularly with Percy Villa-Francis and Arlene Nash Ferguson and others that have made their life about Junkanoo, there was so much about Junkanoo that I didn't know, even though I'm a guy in his late 50s. For me, Junkanoo was the parade, but Junkanoo is so much more than a parade. And so that's all going to be a part of the education and the celebration of Junkanoo from within the Junkanoo Museum. We then obviously, if you think about the number of people that arrive in Nassau, and they all are looking for something interesting to do, Nassau Cruise Port actually supports about 1 million people per year that actually get on some form of water transportation. And so we have 16 berths that are part of our ferry terminal on the east side, and then we have 14 berths on the west side. And these 1 million people will go to various places throughout Nassau, or to Rose Island, or Blue Lagoon, or something like that, and enjoy themselves and come back. The reason that we built the West Marina is that historically these 1 million people would have gotten on water transport that would have only been maybe 300, 400 feet from their cruise ship, and they would have gone there and done their thing, let's say on Rose Island, and then they would have returned right back to the restricted area of the port, having never actually touched Nassau. And so what we do is we have them go and return to the West Marina, which then has them get out of the boat and then move, down Woods Rogers or through Bay Street or through the port back to the ship. So we're trying to engineer an opportunity, economic opportunity for Bahamians there. As you would have, and the other thing I wanted to mention is in terms of just the number of berths and so forth, we have 1.9 miles of berth at Nassau Cruise Port. I mean, that's a lot of berth to support all those cruise ships. So you've entered the arrivals terminal. You've got this Junkanoo Museum sitting right in front of you. To your right, you have a taxi and tour area, facility area, which supports the taxis and so forth, because obviously they're essential to the experience of our guests because they want to go someplace else. We have over 1,000 lineal feet by about 60 feet of ground transportation area to support the taxis and tour buses taking people someplace else. And obviously that's important because I think, as Mr. Watson was talking about, the experiences and so forth, this cruise port is all about a launch pad for experiences and things for people to do. If we were trying to corral and hold all these people, we wouldn't have designed a ground transportation area that's 1,000 feet long by 60 feet wide to allow taxis and tour buses to take people someplace else. We wouldn't have had the ferry berths and so forth to allow those 1 million people to go someplace else. But they're all designed to be able to allow people to enjoy New Providence and the area around New Providence. So after you move through the taxis, you would then come to the marketplace. And the marketplace is got 50 entrepreneurs that are primarily in the authentic Bahamian area, field. They have come up with something that's unique. We had a trade show that was back in December of 2021 at Atlantis, where we invited about 80 artisans from around the Bahamas, the Family Islands, to come to Nassau. Because what we wanted to do is this theme of authentic Bahamian is very much fundamental to our business. And so we wanted to make sure that folks that were in Crooked Island and South Andros and Long Island and Eleuthera and different places had an opportunity to show what it is they made and then create relationships with those folks that would have had a space within this new cruise port so that they could then source from different artisans from around the country, as opposed to relying exclusively on their individual capacity to produce something, right? Because if you are a person that's been in the straw area for the last 30 years, you're the only one actually making that product, you're limited by your capacity to produce whatever it is you're producing. But if you now have relationships with 5 other creators and manufacturers, individual manufacturers from around the Family Islands, then you can source from them and you can sell their items too because they are authentic. The Pam Burnside is the matriarch of kind of culture for us. And so she has a committee that has vetted a lot of the products to make sure these products are, in fact, from the Bahamas, created within the Bahamas and so forth, as opposed to imports from China or wherever they would be coming from, which you can find at any other port or any other souvenir area, throughout Miami, Cayman, St. Thomas, Dominican Republic, wherever it is. And so we really did want to make our Nassau experience different and unique. As you move through the marketplace, you come to a hair braider pavilion. I think that's a special area. And historically, the hair braiders were, they felt that they had to, scream literally at cruise passengers to get them to take a moment and think about whether they wanted to get their hair braided and so forth. By constructing this pavilion, and it's very, very nice in a very nice setting, we believe we have elevated the experience for them. And if they feel that they are in the path of these guests that are coming through, I think they're more comfortable in their approach in terms of how they're going to engage these visitors, and these visitors are more inclined to get their hair braided because you've taken a lot of the kind of anxiety out of the experience. The other thing is that the fact is, My wife, as an example, spends a lot of money in a hairdresser, and people are prepared to spend money, and they like the idea of getting their hair braided because it's something they can take with them back onto the ship because they've just had their hair done, right? And so rather than having to be a fight to the bottom in terms of the lowest possible fee or fare to get my hair braided, if you improve the experience, elevate the surroundings, and make it more pleasurable, it's likely that the guest will pay more. And so that's what we're trying to do there. As you move through the hair braider pavilion and past that, you'll come into much fewer but larger businesses like Bahari, like the Bamboo Shack, like Bahama Handprints, like My Ocean. And these types of businesses are also doing something that we're very familiar with here in Nassau and in the Bahamas. And the reason they've been getting larger spaces is because they have multiple locations. They have production capacity so that if they sell 200 of something, they can replace that 200 with something tomorrow. And so that was the process there, and they were all selected by way of an RFP. They had made their submissions, and the committee had approved them. You have then Antonius Roberts. So he is curating and operating an art gallery within this space. And so you'll go and you'll see Bahamian art, not just his art, but art from various Bahamian artists will be promoted within the space. There's also a wine bar within the space, and our hunch is that after a couple of glasses of wine, you're probably going to buy more art than you would if you were, sober. So we're excited about that, and again, it's not about knockoffs. It's about authentic pieces of art and creations, and it's not just about oil paintings or pastels. There's actually carvings and sculptures and all kinds of things within the space. So after you move past the art gallery, you have an amphitheater. And the amphitheater is going to be something special. And the blessing for Nassau is that we're 186 miles or 200 miles off the South Florida coast. And that's a blessing, and it is a blessing, and that's why we're the busiest transit port in the world. The not so blessed part of it is that people have come to us so many times that you would have heard a lot of the stories and articles in the paper and conversations around how many people get off the ship, how many people get off the ship. And the fact is that with someone that's been to Nassau and this may be their 20th visit, and we actually have people that have been 20 times, when nothing new was happening around downtown, they were like, seen there, done that, what am I going to see, And so we felt that with the amphitheater, even though notwithstanding the fact that we have, constructed this fabulous new waterfront for downtown Nassau, but that too will be seen by somebody several times, over the coming years. And so we felt that the amphitheater was a place that we could bring energy every single day. Because one thing people like to do generally when they're on vacation is enjoy themselves. And so by promoting Bahamian entertainers and music and those types of things through that amphitheater, it's going to, we think it's going to cause more people to come off the ship, even if they've been here 20 times, because the music's changing all the time. And it's not the same person singing, every hour of every day. And we think that that's important for downtown because when I was a kid, we would come downtown. Downtown was a destination. Downtown was a destination. Today, in some cases, downtown to come downtown, there's a specific purpose. It could be that you're going to buy cosmetics or something like that, or you're going to buy jewelry or something like that, or you work downtown. But we feel that by the introduction of this amphitheater and by bringing music into the space, it's going to help downtown because it's one of those things where people will park someplace downtown, they'll come into the port, they'll listen to the music, they'll go back onto Bay Street, or the family may break up where some want to stay and listen to music and others want to go do something, like a shopping mall, so to speak. So we really are excited, and we will be putting together an entertainment calendar, which will be posted online so that folks will be able to see. Both businesses will know what kind of entertainment's happening, and so they can leverage the entertainment at the port. We as Bahamians will also want to be able to check it out, what's happening Friday night, Saturday night, or something like that, or on Sunday. Is it something that we want to come downtown to enjoy? We are, throughout the entire space, it is very much about a family fun experience. And so within this space, it is expected that, you know, we want to have an environment to where if you brought your 6-year-old daughter, you don't have to worry about what she's seeing or hearing. And so that is something that is going to be enforced quite vigorously. Going to the question or the comment that Mr. Watson had specifically to you know, potential, you know, threat. You know, I think from my perspective is that, you know, why do we go, when we go over to Miami, you know, and we pick the mall that we pick, don't we pick that mall because it's got strong brands that you know, help to elevate the destination? Don't you want to pick a mall that has a very strong anchor? You know, and it's not that you're just going to that anchor store, you're going through the entire mall to experience the mall. And so this is actually, I believe, it is a benefit to downtown. Let's think about the consequence. Had we not done it, I wouldn't be talking about 4.2 million people coming to Nassau this year. I wouldn't be talking about over 4.5 million people coming to Nassau next year, okay? The fact is that Nassau has ranked second to the bottom in terms of these cruise passenger surveys. And it's in many cases because it had, you know, our historic city, you know, has been rotting in front of us. I mean, I'm sorry to say it like that, but we have to have more investment coming into the downtown area. And if that cruise port can be a catalyst, and it is a catalyst because I already see people investing in their businesses and so forth. There's already talk about, I mean, you know, the other multi-million-dollar question is what happens east of East Street, right? And so that is another conversation that's happening. But I can tell you this, the fact that the cruise port development exists today, there's going to be a lot more legs in terms of opportunity, in terms of what can happen east of East Street. Because had nothing happened at the cruise port, it's highly unlikely someone would go east of East Street and start spending real money. But when you've got 4.5 million people landing at the cruise port, it makes the investment justification much better in terms of, and you've got contractors in the room right now, as well as a seasoned financial expert that joined us that could, you know, speak to that. But I think that it's, you know, and you would have heard me say it before, I think there's a lot to be gained by this investment. I think that the fact is that, you know, tomorrow we're going to have a lot of press from outside the country that are all covering what's happened in Nassau. You know, the port's called Nassau Cruise Port. And so there's going to be a lot of branding around what's happening in Nassau, what's changed in Nassau. We have these digital screens as well at the port that have this kind of 3D image with stingrays that look like they're flying out, you know, swimming out of the screens. We got tourists taking pictures. We got, I mean, it's the energy. When you have that opportunity to come down to this new waterfront, you know, I think that'll be, and some of you have, but that'll be, I think you'll understand why I'm quite passionate about it, because it is real and it is positive and it is going to help. And I, in my opinion, thank God we've done it. And I, you know, I do want to echo what the other gentleman that came before me in terms of the gratitude. You know, it's, while our project started you know, demolition started in June of 2020 under a prior administration, a lot of the heavy lifting happened in this administration. And I am grateful to those decision makers that had supported the project as it came out of the ground. But I am equally very, very grateful to the Prime Minister, Philip Brave Davis, to the Deputy Prime Minister, Chichester Cooper, to Jo Beth Colby Davis, Minister of Transport, because when, you know, they've put their country first by recognizing the national significance of this project and that this project helps to feed all of us. And you know, for that, I'm truly grateful, and they've only, you know, worked hard to help us get this completed as fast as possible in very difficult circumstances so that we all have a better opportunity. And as they say, you know, a rising tide needs to float all boats, and so that's what we're working on. So, thank you.
And our final speaker before we get to our vendors this morning is the Minister responsible for Economic Affairs, send it to the Honorable Mike Alkidis as he comes to preview the budget and any questions you may have regarding his portfolio. Real quick, I'll give you a couple of minutes, sir. Mr. Alkidis.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Watson. I know it's running late, and apologies for the late arrival. I was doing another press conference. I think just minor preview of the budget is that we are now, as a matter of fact, there's a cabinet meeting ongoing now where we're finalizing some of the legislative changes that we'll be doing. And so, as you know, the communication will be presented on Wednesday, the 31st, and the debate commences on the following Wednesday, June 7th. It's expected to last 2 weeks in the House and about another 2 or 3 days in the Senate. And you know, what we are doing right now is just making sure our theme is we want to continue to promote growth and recovery in the economy, and making sure that all of the allocations are in the right places to make sure that that occurs. And so I'm sure we all look forward to the communication on Wednesday. There were two things I just wanted to address, if I may, Mr. Watson, that I think the press had asked me on Tuesday. I think one had to deal with definitely one had to deal with the position of the retail petroleum dealers in terms of some of them not having diesel available, and what the comment was. I just want to say that diesel is still available in the island. The position of some of the retailers is that the profit that they're making on it currently is not sufficient for them to continue. We hope that they reconsider that. And our position is, you know, it remains that, you know, the government of the Bahamas is sympathetic to their plight, but at this time, with conditions as they are, we are not, you know, considering any increase in the margins. And I should also say that when we say we are sympathetic, you know, we've been having these discussions for many months, and the government last year provided you know, tax rebates to the tune of $6 million to the retail petroleum dealers, $5.5 million in cash, and $500,000 as offset to some of the taxes that were owing. So we have made an effort to help to ease their burden and give them some support, to give them some breathing room. And we would hope that, well, we know that that helped. And we just, you know, we continue to ask them to, you know, it's a difficult situation for all. And so it would just be, you know, not in for us to consider raising prices at the pumps at this time. The other question that came up was, I think someone had a question about the power of sale notice that went out from the DIR, and there was some concern about that. I would just like to advise that as at, just a bit of background, as at 18th of May 2023, real property tax delinquency in the Bahamas is $822 million. $822,167,685. That's delinquency, and that's broken down into various different segments. And so, for example, $226 million of that is owed by foreigners. And of that number as well, $235 million is commercial. That is properties that are either businesses or being rented and generating income. And so when you saw a power of sale, our intent is to try and put a dent into this. Imagine if we could collect all 822. That's probably not possible, but if we can collect a significant portion of it. And our view is that, particularly as it relates to foreign property owners, we are upping our efforts. And so what you saw was mainly targeted at chronic delinquents who have been delinquent for years and you know, who are really chronic. I think there might have been some misinterpretation that that this means that the government will be coming after Bahamian homeowners. Of that 822 million, only 155 million of that is for what we call owner-occupied, people who live in their homes. So I just want to stress, it's a big problem. A huge chunk of it is owned by foreigners. We are engaged in some activities now to go after them, for want of a better term, in terms of collection, and that is where our efforts will be targeted in the main. And I also want to say that the department has been very, very
accommodating in terms of people who have questions or who have objections, et cetera, in terms of their taxes. So I wanted to say that we have a huge issue that we want to address. And when we come to certain categories, particularly when we talk about foreign-owned properties where there's been some stubbornness in getting the number down, then we have to move from the level of asking to the level of being able to use some of the powers that you have. All right, so I wanted to say that. So, you know, that was in no way targeted at Bahamian homeowners, and I think in some quarters this fear was generated that the government is coming to take your house. Of course, that's not the case. And so I just wanted to address those 2 points quickly, and I'll take a few questions before I have to go back into cabinet. Yes.
That his technical team is working on a resolution to the petroleum dealers market increased demands as many continue to halt diesel sales. That was yesterday. What is the team ongoing going to do long term for the?
We have to. The issue is this. Of course we want to continue conversations, and we don't want. The easiest solution as far as the dealers are concerned is to give them a margin increase. And what that does is everybody who goes to the pump will pay more. All of us, all right? And so, as I said, we've been having these discussions for a long time. Global conditions are such that prices are high. Part of our solution and our accommodating was to give the tax rebates last year, all right? And we thought that would give some breathing room. We think it did. So we continue to try and seek a solution, but it's not a simple solution as give a margin increase that would increase the price for everybody, or take the tax off of diesel or whatever, which only means that the government's revenue will fall short and you have to go borrow the money to fill up the gap. So there's some proposals going back and forth. We continue to discuss them. It's a very difficult situation. And so that is why the Prime Minister would say we continue to talk, exchange proposals, see how we can help.
He also said when I talked about the action taken by the gas stations, they decide to do what they want to do, and it's their business that they're impacting. Hopefully they will understand what it is to conduct business in environments such as this. Do you agree with that sentiment that, at the end of the day, the action
You asked me if I agree with the Prime Minister?
Yes,
I agree. I don't want to go behind saying what the Prime Minister says, but I think his comments are very appropriate. People make decisions. When we make decisions, it impacts the entire population.
There's a new line that cropped up yesterday with the insurance industry, where the Insurance Commission is now mandating that insurance companies.
Insurance Commission is not mandating anything.
Or they're suggesting that.
Insurance Commission requested some information from companies as to what their holdings are. I think that was the intent of the communication. The idea is that we want to know the extent of the holdings because we have gotten advice that perhaps we should look at what some other jurisdictions are doing in terms of regulating the quality of the assets that are held by these insurance companies. So it was basically the first step of information gathering. It's not a directive at all.
Any more questions? Okay.
Thank you very much. I could stay for the food.
Why not? Please do. Finally, our food vendors for this week. We want to highlight two companies. One you probably already know, Tropical Gyros. Kelvin Culmer, Clifford Moss, and Shandika Wilson is here. And Sticky Buns, Dendria Bethel is here representing that. We're going to call Dendria to come first for Sticky Buns, and then Tropical Gyro to come and talk about their particular businesses. We're going to actually be Mr. Laura. I don't want to be rude and walk out on the vendors. Can you just give me a second? It's a little bit.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dendria Bethel, and I am the owner and the baker of the Sticky Bun Factory. The Sticky Bun Factory started in 2013 after I returned home from school studying shoe designing. I have a shoe designing business and I needed funding. I needed to make some money so that I could start to get the process going. And the only way I could think of, because there was no one here hiring in shoe business, I thought, get started with making money door to door. So I started baking cinnamon rolls and I went door to door just to start to get some income for myself too. And that has bloomed into a full-time business for myself now. I bake 3 different flavors consistently in the sweet area. We have seasonal flavors that we have during the summer as well as during the holidays. Currently, we sell day to day by orders, but we also have pop-ups every 2 weeks in every month. And then, of course, we participate in almost every seasonal event that takes place during the year. I literally just started doing this full time, and I can tell you that this is definitely a fulfilling job for myself. We try to focus on Bahamian flavors, so our sweet buns are consistent, the flavors that we have are the classic cinnamon, that is well known and everybody knows. We have the guava, we have the pina colada, and of course there's a mix of pineapple and coconut. We have strawberry and we have chocolate. For the season of the summer, we have apple crunch flavor, and we have a strawberry lemonade. For the holidays, we have an eggnog flavor and a carrot cake. That's all very popular during the Christmas season. We have introduced our savory options, which is a spinach and garlic bun that comes with a spinach and garlic cream cheese topping. And then we also have a sticky bee beef dog. I know it sounds funny, but it's something that we've made where we use the Bahamian bread dough that covers the beef, and then we have a special sauce called the dandy sauce that goes along with that. We've been doing it again, like I said, from 2013 to now. We're growing, and that's what the Sticky Bun Factory is in short. Thank you so much. Yes, you can reach us on Instagram at Sticky Bun Factory, also on Facebook at The Sticky Bun Factory, and we are literally going to be launching our website the end of this month where you can place your orders online. We have a delivery service, and that website is going to be thestickybunfactory.com. Thank you so much.
You get that sticky buns today. We're going to invite Tropical Gyro to come and tell us a little bit about, where are they? Tropical Gyro? Could somebody get them from outside, please? Any of the press officers here? Tropical Gyro is our second vendor. Thank you so much. And he's coming now to tell us a little bit about their business.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. How's everyone doing? Firstly, let me just thank the press secretary and his team for inviting me here today to talk a little bit about Tropical Gyros. I'm truly humbled by this honor. Not every time that, a Bahamian entrepreneur gets to stand up in front of the press and talk about their business. Tropical Gyros is something that I came up with about 8 years ago. It was an original creation and done out of necessity, trying to determine I wanted to bring a new food product to the country. And I used the World Relays 2015 as a launching pad for the Tropical Gyros. We ended up selling 1,700 gyros in 2 days at the World Relays, and it was then that I knew that we had a product conducive to be able to sell. So we offer, jerk chicken gyros, jerk pork, coconut curried lamb, barbecue salmon, cracked lobster, along with our salads, which some of you hopefully will taste today, and our tropical bowls, which has our own unique style of peas and rice, plantain, and any other protein toppings that we do, along with the salad. What makes us unique is the fact that all of our seasonings and sauces and dressings are all specially created by myself. So they're all unique, original creations. And what gives it the tropical feel is we put the finishing touch with mango, and fresh pineapple. I can't wait for the summertime to come because I always use locally grown mangoes in the summertime. We try to get as much locally grown pineapples from Eleuthera as possible. So I just wanted to say that, it's a pleasure to be able to bring a product like this, a Bahamian created product, to the marketplace. We have 2 locations now, one at Rosetta Street, and we just opened up one at JFK in the JFK Plaza in December. And we also have a commissary where we make all of the sauces, seasonings, and dressings to ensure consistency, because the next goal now is to franchise the Bahamian Tropical Gyro brand throughout the country, giving entrepreneurs and investors an opportunity to own a piece of our company. So instead of having to buy a McDonald's franchise, they can buy a Tropical Gyros franchise. And I think that's something that we're looking forward to, and then ultimately to take it to the world. So 242, you know, we have a lot of talent in this country. So I just want to thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
So you got some exciting things, Tropical Gyro and sticky buns today that you're going to enjoy. I have one announcement that I forgot from Prime Minister that I want to give to you, and that is we are pleased to announce that Vice President Kamala Harris of the United States will journey to Nassau on June 8th, undertaking a significant meeting with Caribbean dignitaries, co-hosted by Prime Minister Philip Davis, the chair of CARICOM. This gathering will convene leaders from CARICOM and other key regional stakeholders. The agenda for the discussion comprises pressing global concerns, including climate change, energy management, food security, and the process of rebuilding in the aftermath of COVID-19 pandemic. Building upon the foundation of previous meetings, the dialogue will continue to underscore the importance of climate change mitigation, addressing the region's energy crisis, and devising strategies to reduce the region's reliance on fossil fuels. Now, in the backdrop of this forthcoming meeting, it's worth remembering the pivotal engagements the Vice President Harris has previously held with the region, such as last year's 9th Summit of the Americas held in Los Angeles. These encounters have catalyzed collective action and fostering sharing understanding. You remember Prime Minister meeting with the Vice President earlier this year. No doubt this meeting is born out of that fruitful talks. And so again, Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, will be here in the Capitol on June 8th for those meetings with CARICOM leaders and regional leaders as well. We'll keep you posted on that important meeting. All right, that's our press conference for today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach us out at the Prime Minister's press office. We're here to accommodate you in the best way possible. Good afternoon, everyone.